Welcome to Weekend Night Live, hosted by Samuel Jacobs Abbey, where we play music, talk shows, and interviews on Be Inspired Podcast Network. Stay tuned and keep your dial on www.beinspiredpodcast.com. Don't forget to stay connected, be inspired, be unique, and be different.
Wamaya, Wamaya, don't you? 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 Wamaya, Wamaya, don't you?
Thank you so much, John, and we appreciate all your hard work in sending out info and making sure that people all around the world can hear us. And we are also thankful for Samuel, who through the Inspired Podcast Network beams us or sends us all around the world as well through his radio network. So welcome everyone to Exes and Ys. Okay. As the information that went out said, many people, many of us, I'm sure on this line right now, on this program, did not marry the first person we fell in love with. There may be some who have remarried after divorce. And as we say, exes abound. Some exes are friends, some are anything but friends. Some exes cut you off, others will just not let go of you. Some exes are helpful, others create problems for your new relationship. So the question for us tonight, what kind of ex are you? What is the acceptable role for an ex in a person's life? How much should one share about an ex with a prospective or current partner? And then, for those of you who are married, does marriage mean having nothing to do with an ex? And as we've often heard in our seminars, should one continue to be friends with an ex? So, here's our discussion for today. How do we deal with exes and why? First of all, what or who is an ex? We'll take the very simple explanation from Wikipedia. According to Wikipedia, in social relationships, an ex, the plural is exes, E-X-E-S, an ex is someone with whom a person was once associated in a relationship or marriage, end quote. An ex is someone with whom a person was once associated in a relationship or marriage. So, now you can place yourself, whether you are an ex or not, or whether the one you are with, you're talking to or married to, has an ex, or probably someone's ex. You see, that's why we say exes abound. One of the most interesting things about exes is that they always seem to find their way back into your life just when you're getting over them, just when you think everything is okay, just when you think, oh, now I'm happy, I'm settled with someone, or you finally got over the pain and hurt of the breakup. And then they're back. As one writer put it, it's like they have a special radar which alerts them that this is the perfect time to try to get you back at the very moment that you seem to have become settled. The question is, why have they been missing until the announcement goes out, for example, that you're going to get married? Some people, they disappear from your life. An announcement goes out, you're going to get married, and then they seem to surface. Having said that, there are also some exes that appear when we're going through some tough times in a relationship or marriage. So what do? How do we respond when an ex gets back or tries to get back into our lives? Here's what one writer says, and he puts it so well, I think it's better to just say it the way he says it. It says, many people, out of the best of intents, and out of a residual feeling of caring for their ex, will not be totally honest in how they respond. Not wanting to hurt their ex, many people will either not give their ex a definite no to their request, or will downplay the depth of their feelings and commitment to their current partner, unquote. But you and I know that this could really bring about problems. Because although we don't intend it that way, what actually will happen sometimes can be damaging to all parties involved. Not only the current relationship, but even to the ex as well. The Bible says we should put away falsehood and speak the truth. And as we go along, you'll realize that the more open and honest we are about exes and what they're trying to do in our lives, the better it will be for us. And the easier, relatively easier, it will be to deal with them. So let's hear what Ephesians chapter 4, verse 25 says.
Ephesians chapter 4, verse 25. Therefore, putting away lying, let each one of you speak truth with his neighbor, for we are members of one another. Amen.
Amen. So especially if you are in another relationship, whether you're married or you're talking to someone or you become very serious with someone, you are engaged, the more honest you are, the more open you are, the more truthful you are, the closer you will get to the one you are with now. So, from different sources, we put 5 reasons why we need to be totally open with an ex. And, in effect, our current partner also about any attempts to get back into your life, any attempt at having any kind of friendship or relationship. And we will have some time to talk about the friends aspect of it. First of all, if you're not open with your ex, the person will believe there is still a chance that you could get back together. See, somehow, sometimes an ex comes and they're trying to reconcile. I know Christians on the line will say, what's wrong with reconciling? It's okay to reconcile, but does that mean you get them fully back into your life? See, there's some exes also who think that without them you can't really go on, especially if they find out that you don't have anybody. But there's some also who feel they're better for you than anyone else. And that's even in itself a red flag, So be plain. Let them know there is no chance. I'm out of it, whether you're single or not. Just say, I'm not available. That's it. Now, that sounds so simple. And actually is. But each one of us has to have the courage to say so. Some of you are saying, oh, but how do I just tell the person? Boom. We're not enemies. We'll get to that in a few minutes. You see, we have to be totally honest and let the person know there is no chance that the two of us are getting back together again. If you've made up your mind, tell them. If you haven't made up your mind, okay, then there's still hope for them. And for you also with them to get back together. But then, even if you're happy in your current relationship, you're married, you have someone else, in your life, very serious, you're engaged. If you don't tell your ex directly, clearly, honestly, no, they will still believe they have a chance. As somebody said, so long as the person hasn't got to the altar to say, I do, I still have a chance. I'm going to fight for her. I'm going to fight for him, And we have heard people say, oh, he came to steal her from me. I'll make sure he doesn't marry her. Oh, so somebody is out at war trying to win back the person in your life. Now, it is important. If you are not happy in your relationship, or if you find yourself not being able to tell the person directly, I'm getting married, I am married, I have somebody else, or I'm no longer interested, then you need to evaluate your own state of mind. And if you're in a relationship, evaluate your current relationship. Just make sure you know where you stand. And as somebody said, just bluntly tell them so. Sometimes the quicker and simpler we say it, the better. No chance, sorry, goodbye. As short as you can make it, that's it. And then you take steps to prevent further contact. But I'm getting ahead of myself. It's important to let an ex know that you're dating somebody else, that you're serious, and that you want that relationship to work and there's no room for them. That's important. It is important. It is part of our life. So the first thing is to be totally honest with the ex that there is no chance of your getting back together with them again. The second thing is that some people think to hurt ex's feelings. They think, well, he's been kind to me. She was so nice to me. They don't want to be totally upfront. But then it's a huge risk. Now, whose feelings are you sparing? You are planning to get married and you're not telling your ex. And they're thinking they still have a chance with you. So you're not really sparing their feelings. You are actually going to hurt them more than you think. You will indeed make life more miserable for them. And maybe, just maybe, that's your real aim. But you're not saying, you're not being truthful. And it's important that if deep down you still have feelings for the person, you deal with those feelings if you are serious about getting married to somebody else. You don't want to be going forward but looking back all the time. This is very important. Don't string along someone, because of what they did to me. I won't mind him. I won't mind her. And then by the time they realize I'll be married and they'll be also hurt, it's actually childish to do that. And we have to behave maturely, especially with exes. And there are those who do not realize. Our third point is that If you do not come clean with your spouse, you are actually hurting yourself. Because in a way, it means you haven't completely let go of your past. And that is going to prevent you from moving forward in the right way. You need to remember that this person is an ex for certain reasons. And there must be important reasons for them to have become an ex. Whether they dumped you or you dumped them, or the relationship fizzled out for whatever reason, they abandoned you or you abandoned them, the relationship is gone. It's dead. They are an ex. They are an ex because at some point your heart, your mind decided, that's it. I'm not going to continue with this anymore. And especially if you are with someone else, it is important to completely let go of your past so you can concentrate on this new relationship. You know, marriage, engaged, talking to someone, concentrate on that relationship. And if you have nobody in your life, you can also concentrate on preparing yourself for whoever's coming next. Least of all, allowing your heart, allowing your mind, allowing your emotions to heal from the relationship that produced that very ex. One writer, Evie Carrick, says, by holding on to the past, you are also limiting your future. By holding on to the past, you're also limiting your future, end quote. You see, you may be thinking, well, this person might not hurt my current relationship. But really, you're keeping them just around. You're not really letting them go completely, you know. So you begin communicating, oh, we're just friends on Facebook. Oh, you know, occasionally we bump into each other here and there. Well, we have mutual friends, all of that. But you're not even telling them your current status. What's going on? What is happening is that you're keeping yourself from moving forward to discover the love and intimacy that you deserve, that you want. And for those who are praying for and hoping to find a new relationship, consider this illustration. So long as you hold something in your hand, it will be difficult to have something else placed there. So long as you hold something else in your hand, it will be difficult to have something else placed there. You have to let go of the old that you are holding on to so that God can replace it with something new. You can't be praying for somebody new to come into your life or to have a new relationship with this person you have, grow stronger, and yet you're holding on to a past relationship. You will be hurting yourself. And very soon you will realize it's hurting your partner as well. Another point before we come to how you can be hurting your partner is that by keeping a connection to the past in your life, you could be preventing yourself from progressing emotionally. You know, a number of studies talk about this, you know, from psychological research, social science research, says very clearly that people who keep connections to the past in their lives could be preventing themselves from progressing emotionally. Think of the pain, the hurt. And of course, some of you might be saying, oh, I think of the way we enjoyed life together. Okay, so you're still bound in the past emotions. How can you develop new emotions with this new person or with the person who's coming? So, don't let your own insecurities. There's some people who might say, well, I mean, with this one, we've just begun. I'm not too sure. It's an insecurity. Well, what if it doesn't work out? So you're going back to the old that you left? So don't let your own insecurities and fears keep you tied to an unhealthy past. Don't resurrect the past either. At least for your own sake, let what has ended stay dead. So we've said three different things so far. reasons why you should be totally open with your ex. First, if you're not, they'll believe they still have a chance to get back to you. Second, you're not really helping them, And then third, you're hurting yourself. Then fourth, you're hurting your partner, the new person you have. You must remember that if we dwell on the past, it's not good for the present. There's an illustration we often use. For those of you who drive, occasionally we look in the back view mirror, but that's so that we can overtake, or switch lanes, something like that. But can you imagine wanting to go forward and with your eyes fixed constantly in the rear view mirror? How much progress will you make? Very little, and most likely you will crash. Apply that to your relationship. We cannot continue looking to the past if we want to progress in the future. And with your current partner, here are some questions, which we'll come back to, towards the end. Does your partner know how often you and your ex talk? Are they aware of how present your ex is in your daily life? Are they really okay with it? They may be aware, but are they okay with it? And if they don't know how often you talk, if they're not okay even with you talking with them, think of how you would feel if it were your partner doing that to you. And think of how they would feel if they knew how much time you're spending with your ex, talking, sharing stuff, jokes. There, some of you might say, oh, it's just jokes, we trade jokes. Well, why aren't you trading the same jokes with the partner you have now? And as we often say, every time spent with someone else is time taken away from the person you claim to love. And if you're married, the person you have pledged your life to. By choosing to maintain a relationship with your ex and not being upfront, honest with your partner, you're hurting the person you claim to love. And we're deliberately choosing the words you claim to love. And in a way, you are putting the priority of the relationship with your ex over your current one. So then you have to be honest with yourself. Do you really need your ex in your life? Or is it simply, as Vivian, my wife, sometimes says, talking about some young men, says, it seems some people like to have, their ex-girlfriends. Some men like to have their ex-girlfriends in their lives to boost their egos. It makes them feel desirable, perhaps. But are you also keeping your ex or exes just around in case your current relationship fails? It says more about you than them. Or is there something more to it? Is it that you genuinely care about them as a friend? Or you are in a situation where you just have to work with them? Okay, let's say you're in the same office, so maybe in the same church or fellowship, we understand that. But what about all the time you're spending with them? If they are around you in a fellowship, in a church, in an office, make sure your current partner, spouse knows, and then talk about what you will do about that situation. We will come to that in a short while also. The fifth point about being upfront about with your ex is that if you don't, you damage your current relationship. As you said, every time you let somebody else into your life, it takes time away from other people in your life. The only result when you allow an ex into what should be, one writer calls it sacred space between you and your spouse or between you and your fiancé, is that you bring stress into your life. Very simply, you are going to bring some stress. For some, it's drama because there's quarreling and other things. But you do this for virtually no gain to yourself. And yes, we do know of people who sometimes have done that to make the current partner realize that, somebody loves them. Somebody thinks they are important. But again, that's childish. If you have to let your ex prove to your current partner that you are important, boy, it's sad. You need help. And so remember that allowing your ex to continue to bring stress and pain to you and your relationship will ultimately create more problems, perhaps even destroy the relationship. And remember, the longer you let this go, the more difficult it will be for you to break it. And so, simply put, there is really no reason to allow an ex who will not be part of your life going forward to affect a new relationship that you have. And then think about it. If your current partner, your spouse, for example, feels that you are at least emotionally attached to someone else, well, how can you expect that they will give you all, their all, if you are giving some of yourself to someone else, emotionally, mentally, perhaps not physically, but emotionally, mentally, you're not there for your current partner or spouse. Imagine if they knew what they would do. See why there's falsehood? See why we begin to hide these things? And then, as one study says, by keeping your ex in your life, you may be limiting the potential of your current relationship. And this study found that staying close with an old flame, as they put it, can seriously affect the foundation of an existing romantic relationship. Consider all the time and energy you put into maintaining a relationship with your ex, when that time and energy could go into building your current relationship. Would your current relationship be more open, honest, and deeper? And just think, the very act of juggling two people, the past and the present, has the ability to tarnish or cheapen the relationship you're currently in. So you're not winning. Your partner is not winning, and your ex is not winning either. All will lose eventually. And then we have the big question. Should one stay friends with an ex? If yes, why? If not, why not? Two whys there. So, here's something, there are people who say, oh, well, there's nothing wrong. It's important for us to be cordial, with everyone. Yes, cordial, civil, but you don't have to be friends. We've had people also say to us, oh, as a Christian, the Bible tells me, I think this is from Romans 12:18, that the Bible says we should be at peace with all people. So I'm just trying to be at peace, to live at peace with this. I've moved on, yes, but I just want to be at peace with my ex. We are not enemies.
Romans chapter 12, verse 18. If it is possible, as much as depends on you, live peaceably with your name is on it.
Amen. Excuse me, there are some people on the line who are talking. Please mute your phones. Thank you. Let's hear Romans 12:18 again.
Romans 12:18. If it is possible, as much as depends on you, live peaceably with all men.
All right. Amen. But live peaceably doesn't mean you have to be friends with them. We are at peace, but you're not my friend. I don't have time for you because I have time for somebody else. So what do the experts say? It's not so. These are people who studied it, and one of the people who's given some very helpful guidelines, Rachel Sussman, who's listed as a New York City-based psychotherapist and author of, I love the title of this book, The Breakup Bible. The Breakup Bible, Rachel Sussman from New York. She advises caution when it comes to staying friends, but says for some couples it works. But everyone needs to know how well they can handle this. And she offers some guidelines. For example, she says, under no circumstances should a relationship that was abusive, manipulative, or toxic transition into a friendship. Especially you've ended the relationship, like Jesus said, the demons go out and then they don't have anywhere to settle and they realize, oh, now this old place we left is swept clean, and the person comes back. After you're healed of all the abuse, the manipulation, and toxicity, suddenly they want to be friends. They want to reconcile. Okay, I forgive you, but that's it. No more. I'm not giving my face, my body, myself to you any longer. And then a study nearly 20 years ago, some of you are also old, but it's still valid. It says friendships between exes are more likely to have negative qualities and less likely to have positive ones than cross-sex platonic friendships. In other words, if I'm friends with a female, we're just friends, nothing else between us. Those friendships are even better than friendships with exes. That friendships with exes are more likely to have negative qualities, So, something for us to think about. So here's more. Sussman also goes to say, and I want to quote this, if you had a really strong connection and a really strong love affair with a very erotic sex life, how do you become or stay friends with that person? If you've got another person in your life. And this is how she puts it. Chemistry doesn't always change. Chemistry doesn't always change. And the Proverbs have something to say about this. Proverbs chapter 6 and verse 27. Proverbs 6 and verse 27.
Proverbs chapter 6, verse 27. Can a man take fire in his bosom and his clothes not be burned?
Can a man take fire in his bosom and his clothes not be burned? Interesting. Says a lot. You're carrying fire in your bosom for your ex, well, you're going to get burned sometime. And if you've got somebody else in your life, Sussman also mentions that there are potential downsides to staying friendly with an ex. We've already seen one. It can hold you back from getting into a new relationship. Just like we said, you're holding something in your hand, you're not going to get something new in it, And then you get into a new relationship. Let me just quote how Sussman puts it. Quote, or you get into a new relationship and you tell your new girlfriend or boyfriend, my ex is one of my closest friends. That's complicated, right? Are you giving the new relationship a fair chance to really flourish or blossom? And then here's another study that says, this is from 2013, and it says, breakup distress may act as a catalyst for personal growth. That is, the pain, the hurt that comes from breakup, the stress, it may actually act as a catalyst for personal growth. We learn how not to do things. And if we don't go through that, if we avoid that distress, yes, as we said earlier, we miss out on growing. But is it possible that we can be friends? Or at least on good terms, maybe not friend, but on good terms? Think of the situation where exes have children together. It is important that they try to remain on good terms, and I'm saying try, because sometimes the breakup was acrimonious or the post-breakup becomes acrimonious, especially when one gets married, quicker and the other person remains unmarried, says, oh, that's the person they were cheating with. Perhaps not at all, but simply because they've got married and the other one isn't married. Sometimes even those of us on the outside point fingers. So, oh, that's interesting. I thought he divorced only, a few months ago or last year. We make all those remarks. But if you've had children with someone, your ex, it's important that you work on being on good terms. It's even healthy for the children. Still not the best, but it's better than if you are acrimonious, and saying nasty things about each other or doing hurtful things for each other, Now, another study puts it this way, that before you even think about friendship with an ex, it's important to make sure that the romantic spark has faded for both of you. It might help if both of you are in other relationships. Perhaps both of you are married. And so you're not going to be worried about anything, happening between you. You're married, you're gone, okay? Research says sometimes you can, stay friends without much of a worry. Again, it's an individual thing, and it says if you're staying friends and the real goal is to get the person back, then that's drama that nobody needs. And research supports that. Other studies, we're quoting from all these studies because we don't want it to simply say, oh, Uncle Richard said or Auntie Vivian said, because these are people who have studied these things and we can learn from them, Another study suggests that couples who remain in contact for the same reasons, whether pragmatic or sentimental, are more likely to have successful friendships. While, get this, staying in touch because of unresolved romantic desires is a predictor of negative outcomes. I'm going to take this again. Couples who remain in contact for the same reasons. We have a kid, or maybe, we go to the same church, so we see each other, for those ones, you can have a successful friendship. But if you stay in touch because of unresolved romantic desires, predictor of negative outcomes, chances are somebody is going to be hurt again. And so if you decide to take friendship with an ex, put all these studies together. What they're saying is that you should take a break first. Allow time to heal you, Don't break up. Oh, we broke up as best friends. Hello? Broke up as best friends? So why did you break up? Time heals, yes. But not only time, space apart can also help us to heal. And as Sussman that we talked about, the New York therapist, says, that also goes for social media as well as in-person interactions, And because many of you are on social media, Facebook, etc., this is what she says, and I quote, I would love for couples to unfollow and unfriend each other for a few months after breakup. Otherwise, before you know it, you're checking your Instagram and you're seeing your ex, and that brings up all sorts of thoughts and feelings which might make you, on some emotional level, feel reconnected to that person. Isn't it interesting that people break up and then sometimes at least one of them is checking up on the other regularly on Facebook, on Instagram, And sometimes they're even messaging them. I saw you with this. Who's this person? Why do you want to know who I am with? You're gone. Let it stay dead. And this is why we also have boundaries on these, you know. And we'll say one thing here about boundaries and come to it in 2 minutes. Well, here we go. Boundaries are important for couples turned friends, you know. And so, for example, a healthy boundary could be, let's not talk every day. Let's not text every day. Okay. If the person insists, you have the freedom not to respond. If they call you on the phone, hello, there's something called voicemail. Let it go there and let it sit there. And yes, there is a delete button also. You are not bound to answer every message. Yes, and the ones who are clingy will message you, did you get my message? Still do not reply. They will get your message and know that it is dead. It's not going to happen between the two of you as it was before. And it is important to also evaluate how the friendship is going. If you feel it's taking you into territories that are not comfortable, better to pull back than to just let things take care of themselves. If we don't address the way we feel, the feelings will overtake us. And sometimes it may actually be healthier to let the friendship go, even if it hurts. And so when we come to boundaries, every one of us should set clear boundaries to let our ex know where our priorities lie. Sometimes we need to set some boundaries with our spouses as well. Let's say if I have an ex, I have to set a boundary with my wife so she knows there are some things I will not do. That's what we mean. Between me and the ex, yes, there has to be some boundaries. But between my wife and myself also, we need to have that understanding. We need to have that agreement. There are certain things I will not do with someone else. There are certain things I will not say to someone else. This is important. But also with our partners, they also need to know what we are comfortable with or not comfortable with, And so rather than issuing ultimatums or, you have to decide between us, they already decided for you. So why are you going to now asking them to choose between you and the ex, Rather than all these ultimatums, focus on what needs to be done, Talk about limits on the access the ex has, and especially if it begins to infringe on the time you have, For example, if your partner and yourself, you always, as we say, you jump whenever they call on the phone, or whenever they ask for something, boom, straight away you drop everything and you're going to do it. Well, guess what? The ex is going to ask for more. Who doesn't want attention? Especially if they're getting it without any commitment on their part. But it's better that each one of us do this for ourselves, with the ex, and also with whoever is now in our lives, a fiancé, a spouse, or a friend. Even if you're talking to somebody and it's getting serious, this is the time to do it, And now, here's one research. Researchers polled nearly 7,000 couples. This is research 2 years ago, 2017 research coming out of Kansas State University here in the U.S. Nearly 7,000 couples who regularly use social media. And one area the researchers focused on was that of boundary crossing, as in having platonic but frequent contact with somebody that you find attractive, say on Facebook, Instagram, or Snapchat. And here's what the research said, quote, social media can enhance romantic relationships when it's used to stay in touch throughout the day or to honor your partner's achievements. But there are pitfalls to avoid that could damage their relationship. The meaning is that we just have to be careful. There can be emotional, physical cheating, which violates that boundary. Now, here's the bad news. The researchers found that the more accepting couples are of communicating with someone they perceive as physically attractive, the more damaging it can be for their relationship. If you don't set some ground rules or express what you're comfortable with, both of you might have drastically different perspectives of what is and what isn't acceptable. What videos will you accept from an ex? What messages will you accept from an ex? These you have to lay down very quickly. And then here's another thing the researchers say. Even if your girlfriend, boyfriend, or spouse says they're cool with you being in touch with an ex every now and then, although they may say, I trust you and it's okay, they may not be happy about it. That's what the researchers found. And they eventually perceive that the significant other is spending too much time connecting with others on social media than paying attention to their own partner. But let's turn things around. Would you be cool with your partner, with your spouse, keeping tabs on an ex? Maybe not. And if you wouldn't like it, why would you do it to your partner? The fundamental problem that couples have, the researchers found, is a lack of agreements regarding boundaries on social media. And they say couples ought to share not only what they're willing to tolerate, but also what they would prefer. See, sometimes our discussions become negative. I don't want this. Don't do that. So, but what do you want? Let's talk about that as well. Talk about what you would prefer so that as a couple, you can create a secure and satisfying relationship. And here's one more thought from the Kansas State research. Quote, when you come across an old flame or another attractive person on social media, the question to ask is, will communicating with this other person enhance my relationship, my current relationship or marriage, or harm it? Just because you see that your girlfriend or boyfriend from high school is on Facebook doesn't mean that you need to friend them. This is research saying it, not me. Common sense, you might say, but most of us aren't applying that. Keeping lines of communication open with exes can become a slippery slope because relationships naturally have peaks and valleys. During a relationship's lower points, a person may be tempted to confide in a previous partner. And so the lead researcher, Joyce Baptist, an associate professor of marriage and family, this is what marriage and family therapy, this is what she says. My best advice is that if you're serious about your relationship, cut off those ties. And so 3 ways to talk about boundaries in a relationship. Draw the line. Express what you're willing to tolerate, but also what you would prefer. The second thing is be critical of your choices. Ask the hard question. Will communicating with this person enhance my current relationship or harm it? And then, third, watch out. If communicating with this person begins to lead you into territory that is not right for your current relationships, the research is telling us, cut ties with past lovers, girlfriends, boyfriends, ex-wives, ex-husbands, etc. Get yourself free. Let's conclude with what we call 10 caution signs. 10 caution signs. So, listeners, yellow and red lights should flash in your mind in the following instances. Yellow and red lights. They should be flashing constantly, not giving you peace. until you take action. Here we go. 10 caution signs. First, when you can't disclose your current status to an ex, whether you're single or in a relationship or married, yellow lights, red lights. When you cannot tell your current partner or spouse about a particular ex, trouble. When you start hiding communication with an ex, ask yourself, what is it that you do not want your partner to see? And don't tell me that your partner is jealous. They have to be. That's why they're in love with you, committed, alone. They're not willing to share you. If you can't share an exchange with your partner, it's likely you should not be having it either. And hiding information because you fear your partner's reaction is not wise. We hear people say, "Oh, I'm doing this. I'm being wise about not showing this to my wife or the person I'm talking to, my fiancé." No, it's foolishness actually. And it actually means you're better off cutting this contact that is placing stress on your current relationship or marriage. Yellow lights, red lights. When issues regarding an ex begin to dominate conversations with your current partner or spouse. When you start comparing your current partner with an ex, that one, double red light. When you start sharing or are goaded, that's convinced to, share frustrations about your current partner or relationship with an ex, trouble. Exes make very bad counselors. Actually, they're not counselors or advisors. Don't even go there. About your current relationship. They couldn't hold one with you. Why would they help you to hold another one? Red flag, yellow flag, lights. When you use a child or children between you and an ex to try to see an ex more often than necessary or to make demands on them, more money, more time, all of that, yellow lights, red lights. When you use a child or children between you and an ex to punish the ex for the breakup of the previous relationship by speaking ill of them to the child, no good. When you give priority to demands by an ex over those of your current partner or spouse. When you find yourself thinking more and more about an ex, this could be a sign of dissatisfaction with your present relationship. When you find yourself thinking more and more about an ex. And then when you find yourself frequently advocating for or defending an ex, when your current partner or spouse raises an issue of concern about them, especially of bad behavior, could be phone, could be a text message or some images they've sent, and your partner, your spouse raises concern about these, and you're defending them. When you find yourself doing that, double red lights. Why are you their lawyer now? And then when flirting, romantic flirting, creeps into a conversation, whether in person or on social media, red lights. Especially if the relationship with an ex was sexual, beware of inflaming old passions. As African elders say, old firewood easily catches flame and begins to burn again.
2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 22. Flee us also youthful lusts, but pursue righteousness, faith, love, peace with those who call on the Lord out of a pure heart.
Okay. Amen. So we not only flee youthful lusts, but we pursue righteousness, right living, faith, love, and peace. And then finally, Colossians chapter 3, verse 5, also from the New Testament, Colossians chapter 3, verse 5.
Colossians chapter 3, verse 5. Therefore, put to death your members which are on the earth: uncleanness, passion, evil desire, and covetousness, which is idolatry.
So,
Amen.
All different things to promote healthy relationships, we find in those two passages. So in conclusion, the next time an ex comes into your life, you need to be wise in how you respond. Be open and honest with your ex about them and you and about your current relationships. With the person you're currently seeing, person you're currently talking to, and if you don't have anybody in your life, be open to them and say, but I don't want you. If that's the case, straight. It's in everyone's interest that you do so. So even though it's not always easy, being completely open and honest with an ex is probably the kindest thing you can do for your ex, for your current relationship, and for yourself. It's healthy, it's wise, and makes you stronger. Thank you for listening, and now we're going to be open for your questions, your comments, contributions. Thank you listening to us on how to deal with exes and whys. Over to you, John. Over to you, Sam.
All right, thank you so much, Reverend Crabbe, for this beautiful uh, thought and sharing with us. We have so many questions coming in. Let's go after it. So the first question, it's coming from Columbus, Ohio, and it says that my ex and I owns a business together, and for that reason, we are in constant touch. We travel and go on treks together. We have been disciplined and we have kept it very professional. But of course, we were dating for almost 3 years before we went our separate ways and we got married. Once in a while, that feeling comes. So this program was very, very important for me. Do you think I should sell my portion of the shares in the company and moved on? So far, we've been doing this for the last 3 years and it has worked perfectly without any inches. My husband is cool with it, and I don't think the wife is affected either. What do you think, and what is your suggestion? Thank you.
I think you yourself have an answer. You're asking the question because you are thinking about it. I think the best thing for you is to sell your shares and get out of it. Start another business on your own. That is very simple. If you are feeling something, as you said, sometimes the feelings come. Just sell your shares and get out.
Thank you so much. Both of you are married now. You don't want to destroy two marriages. And as often happens, the two of you might not even get together if something happens between you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This one is coming from California, and it says that my ex, we were both in high school, and we both went to college, the same college together. We dated so well, and then we went our separate ways because it didn't work out. He has a temper issue, so that was the primary reason why it didn't work out. Now we have married and we have moved on, but just recently, over a year ago, my ex just moved close to my neighborhood, 3 blocks from my house. I have not told my husband about him, but my husband is cool with him because they play basketball in the neighborhood together. How do I deal with this situation? Thank you.
You know, as we said, the earlier you are totally open and honest about it with your husband, the better it's going to be for all of you. As you said, see, they're already now playing, sports together. Next thing you know, they're inviting each other over to their homes. Your husband might invite him to come over to your home. If you don't talk about this earlier, just imagine if he comes to your home 2, 3, 4 times before your husband gets to know, and it could be even more hurtful to him if he gets to know from another source, perhaps not your ex, but maybe someone else. So this is why you realize that one key point we have made all through our presentation is being totally open and honest. Do it quickly, and then you can build a stronger relationship with your husband, And then you're not going to be, as the saying goes, walking on eggshells, around, even around your husband, wondering, will he find out? Will he, or if he finds, you tell him. And as you say, you went your separate ways. Guess what? Your husband won. He's not going to be threatened. But if you don't, now you're going to undermine his trust for you. And he's going to wonder, why didn't you tell me? And I'm just thinking, what if he even begins to think, it's because of that your ex moves closer? If you don't tell him quickly, see, you could be putting all kinds of things into your husband's mind when he finds out much later. So do it quickly, clean, and you're going to be free. And your husband will be free, and you can concentrate on your marriage and enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And this one is from Pennsylvania. It says that my ex-husband saved my husband's life. So here's the story. Let me see if I can summarize it here. So here is the story. So my husband was involved in an accident and he lost blood, and they needed blood to be donated for him. Fortunately or unfortunately, my ex's blood matches his, and finally, my husband agreed, and he was provided with the blood from my ex. Frankly speaking, I thought it wasn't the rightful thing, but that saves his life, and because of that, we have become too close and too friends in the family. Do you think this can backfire? My husband knows about him that he was my ex, but at the time he has no choice than to get his life saved. How will you advise I handle this situation? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sam, can you ask the question again? I mean, or the point, she says they become too close. I don't understand what,
So I think what she meant is that after the donation of the blood, now it has become more like a family friends.
Right. Looks like we lost Sam.
No, I'm here. No, it said that after the donation of the blood, they have become more of a family friend. And do you think this will be a problem?
Well, it's not me.
It shouldn't be a problem if you are very open. Your husband knows that he's your ex. So set boundaries. You and your husband set boundaries and go by it so that it won't be a problem.
Thank you.
All right, great. So now let's go to let's see here. Okay, let's go to Ghana. And it says that, well, I think we sometimes over exaggerate the influence of exes in relationship. My ex has been kind to me. He has supported me in many ways. I love my husband. My husband knows I would never compromise my relationship with him. But in an event where my husband is not in a position to connect me to certain things, my ex does, and he has connected me to the current job that I am doing. I don't think there should be anything wrong befriending your ex as long as you know where the lines are drawn. Thank you.
That's all we said, but I hope husband also knows that it's your ex who has been connecting you to the jobs, and you are not keeping that from him, also. But as we said, be totally open and honest, and have the boundaries in place, and keep to those boundaries. That's it. Thank you.
Awesome. So this one also said, now in an event where your ex is very aware, your husband is very aware that the exes want to engage him in conversation, and your husband enjoys that emotional connection with the exes. You've talked about it a couple of times, and yet nothing has changed. Yet he finds a delight in engaging such people, and personally he doesn't see anything wrong with it. How do you proceed and how do you handle such a situation?
first of all, you need to find out why he does that. Why is he enjoying those conversations with his exes? And talk about it. If necessary, maybe tell someone else whom your husband or wife respects so they can talk over with both of you and get to understand why he's doing that and let him or her know it is dangerous.
You said he delights in doing that. The question is, why does he delight in doing that? And the question seems to imply that he's not delighting in talking with you, in chatting with you. If that's the case, then we have a problem. And, even if he still enjoys or delights in chatting with you also, why does he then need those other ones as well? And what do they talk about? How often do they talk? Like we said, time taking away from a spouse or a fiancé is key time. This is prime time. You don't want, time that should be, you could invest in your current relationship being given to, or that could be invested in your current relationship being given to someone else. And sometimes it helps to let the person know how it makes you feel. And we gave an example earlier, if the shoe were on the other foot, as the saying goes, if you were chatting with your male exes, how would he feel about it? Would he be happy? It might be worth asking him about it. And if he says, okay, don't just take his word for it, because you should ask, why would he be okay with it? Because a chat is not simply a chat. It is what goes into the chat that is important. What does he chat about? What does he talk to them about? Why does that delight him? And how about you? In whom he should have more delight, or the most delight. So think about that also. And like Vivian said, it may be worth talking together, three of you, two of you, your husband, and someone else, that he respects, who understands these things. Could be a counselor, could be an elder who can advise him on the dangers it means to his marriage, so that you don't come across simply as, my wife is complaining or my wife is jealous. This is important to understand that it goes, it actually undermines the oneness between husband and wife. If a wife feels, I don't have all of my husband, this is critical and has to be dealt with, appropriately. Thank you.
Thank you. Whilst you were answering that, a follow-up from the same person came out as to, in an event where you've asked the same question that you just proposed, that what if I am talking to Exes, will you be comfortable? And he tells you he'll be comfortable because he's not doing anything wrong. So he doesn't expect you to do anything wrong. How do you proceed? Because I have done this many times, and this is the answer that I keep getting. If you want to talk to your friends, I don't hold against you. Talk to them because I don't do anything wrong, and I don't see anything wrong talking to my ex. After all, we are not doing anything.
I think it may have come after or as we were talking. We partially answered that by saying it's still time away from your relationship. Why is he investing that time when that could be time that the two of you could be investing yourselves? If you're not, even if you're not chatting, you could be doing things together. And, we want to again emphasize time taking away from a spouse, a fiancé, is time taking away from the relationship or marriage. And it is important that it has to be dealt with. You can't be married to someone and be spending more time to other people. Then the person you've married is not important to you.
See, my Dear brothers, especially the men, I'm talking to the men. If you have a wife and you are still enjoying chatting with these exes, you are making a real fool out of yourself. They know you have a wife and they are intentionally getting your attention. They are calling you, they are talking to you as if you are the best in this world. They know. So why are you sleeping here? How old are you? Excuse me, some people are disturbing on the line. I do not want to have any time with you. I don't know about so if you have a wife and you are allowing these other women to be talking to you, spending time with them away from your wife, you are making a big fool out of yourself. Change your mind. Make sure that you have time with your wife. You are painting a very bad picture to these exes, and they are enjoying it and wasting your time, loving it, because they know that you are having time away from your wife.
There was a point about the husband saying, "Oh, you can talk with your exes because I don't expect you to do anything wrong." There is a lot wrong. The time away from both of you. Invest that time in each other instead of in the lives of other people, unless those people are more important than the spouse. That's a huge question to be answered. We always, everyone in this world, makes time for the things that are important to them. And we do show by the quantum, the amount of time we spend on something, how important that thing is to us. Whether it's a wife or a child or work or a husband, the time we spend on something tells us or tells others how important that thing is to us. So let's all think about it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The other question here says that what if your spouse denies, but he or she secretly talks with the same person all the time, and when you approach and you ask, he denies it, but yet when you look at his call log, you could see he's still talking to this person. How do you handle it?
Listen, we've talked about it, a little earlier. You have talked with them directly, so let's go the biblical route. Get somebody else to talk with both of you, and we're saying both of you because if somebody talks with the person alone, they might deny everything you are saying, and we are back to square one. That's why we keep saying both partners should talk with someone else, whether it's a counselor or with someone else that they both respect to be able to address the situation, who can help them work through the strain that it is causing on the relationship, on the marriage, especially if you're married. This is important, So thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Now, this one says that it said so. My husband has saved the X with my name, and so
Mm-hmm.
I only was going through the phone and the S called and my name popped up. And it was surprising because I was holding my phone and I've never called my husband, yet my name is showing on the call list as the one calling him. So I intentionally pretended as if I didn't see the call. I didn't answer the call. I let the call went to a voicemail. And then I saw my husband pick the phone, went to the bathroom, and started talking. When he came back, I looked at the call log and it's still my name that he has called back. I am weak. I don't even know. I am so shocked and surprised that I don't even know how to confront this. I waited patiently for this program in order for me to hear what you will say before I will approach him. Thank you.
Thank you. So I hope you now know how to approach him because you have to have an open, honest talk. Some people don't like the word confront because they think it means you are fighting. But it simply means bringing the situation, talking about it up front. Don't go around it just like you said it. This is what I've found. What's going on? And the easiest thing, if he denies, okay, pull out your phone. Let's see the phone number behind my name. That's all. And then you have to deal with the rest. Why are you doing this? Who's this person? Etc. But it's sad, but unfortunately it is happening. We know about people who save under their siblings' names and all that, and the sibling has no idea that they are an alias for someone else. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And this one is coming from Dimos, Iowa, and it says that is it right to be still in contact with your ex while married?
Maybe you should go back and listen to the program. For different reasons. I mean, it depends on the kind of contact. You want to write on their Facebook wall or what? It depends on the kind of contact. If it's constant contact, there's a question of why do you need that constant contact, for example. And I think it's easier to say simply you need to have your boundaries. Ask yourself the question, why do I need to maintain this contact? For example, why do I need to maintain this contact? What do I really gain from maintaining this contact? And what we're talking about is different from if you're all on, like an alumni platform or something. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking when now you're doing one-on-one, and ask yourself, why do I need to maintain this? Of what help is this to me? There was a question we asked earlier that said to ask ourselves whether the relationship is harming my current relationship, or not. It's something we need to ask ourselves. Is this helpful to my current relationship or not? It may not be harming it, but if it's not helpful, well, it doesn't help either. So there's nothing like it's neutral. If it's not helping, why keep it? So that's our short answer to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This one is coming from Pennsylvania, and it says that, I've also saved, I have 4 exes, and I've saved all of them by don't answer number 1, don't answer number 2, don't answer number 3, and don't answer number 4. Now, from the answer you gave, based on the earlier question asked by somebody who has named the ex with the wife, I better go and talk to my husband about it before it becomes a problem. Do you think it will be a problem?
Well, you already, even the way you've named them will help your husband to understand this is not something I'm entertaining, But what we're saying is hopefully he knows that you have some exes, and that you said so. But I mean, we all do know you can block certain people from calling you. So why don't we use the block option rather than even have them call and then they are on a do not call list? Just block. Whether on Facebook, wherever they are, you can block the person.
I like the don't answer number 1, don't answer number 2, and so forth. But let your husband know then. And then, hopefully you don't pick it up when they call because you said don't answer. But the easiest, the best one is to block them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So there's another question here and it's coming from Somalia. And it says that thank you so much for this beautiful thing. It's a big issue here in Somalia. By our culture, we don't just block people because we are more of a nuclear system here. Culturally, what will be your advice as to how to handle your exes? Because in Somali here, our exes are part of our families. It is more of a traditional way of handling relationships here. Your auntie, your uncle's, your auntie's brother becomes your wife. It's more of a nuclear. So how do you handle it?
Well, thank you. I mean, culturally or not, an ex is an ex, you know. So let them remain an ex. If you have to answer their calls, okay, no problem. I mean, then yes, you're right. Then you don't have to block them because culturally that may be unacceptable. You don't want to be the person who's that way. Um, but even culturally, if the person is abusive, like they call to say nasty things, I think it will be understood if you block them. Because I don't know of any culture that encourages, people to insult others. You see, um, but if you have to talk to the person still, or like you said, they're still close in terms of the social relationship. There's nothing you can do about that. Yes, but again, that does not mean, that does not excuse you from setting boundaries. You still need to have the boundaries. There are certain topics I will not discuss with this person. There are certain images I will not entertain from this person, things like that. And as we said, whatever message is sent to you, you have the option of replying immediately or much later or not at all. You see, some people like to engage you. Once they get your attention, they keep writing one sentence, two, like half a phrase, keep going back and forth. They just got your attention and they pick up sometimes some useless, argument or comment just because they want to keep communicating with you. We need to be alert to all of these and decide I'm not continuing again. You don't even have to write the person I won't continue. You just stop. That's all. And like we said earlier, they may even write, why are you not answering my messages? And you still do not. Allow 1-2 days to pass and then you send because I do not like the tone of what you're writing or because I had to do, other things. Yes, you had to do other things. Thank you very much. Or I was at work. Something to get you out from having to be at their beck and call or, engaging with them, communicating as and when they want. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. And this one is from New York, and it says that, well, all the advice is given well noted. In my case, we have two children together, and we have both moved on, but the children are under 18, and so we are into each other's life. We both have custody of each other. So in my case, I cannot do not answer number one. I have to, otherwise it becomes a legal issue for me. Um, but once in a while, when we get together, that old love still comes, even though we've moved on. How do you advise us to go forward in this relationship without creating any problem for my current relationship?
Now finally you say something. Because, moved on has become a famous phrase, a popular phrase now. I've moved on and the person hasn't moved anywhere. If you have moved on, where are the feelings coming from? You moved on with the feelings, the old feelings. This is why we say, time and space can help us to heal. But again, you do need to keep those boundaries. If you are in a new relationship, then focus on building that relationship and keep, the interaction with your ex, as cordial as you can, but know yourself. It may mean, taking practical steps like when you have to pick up the children from her home, for example, assuming she's not remarried, or doesn't have a current relationship, and you have to go to the house to pick up kids or to drop them off, it may be practical and helpful enough for you to go with the person you're currently with. There's no law against that, And this is the person. After all, if they come to be with you for a weekend, they're seeing this other person. So it's not like this person is, some dangerous individual that the children shouldn't be around the children, or your ex-wife for that matter. So some practical steps like that, there may be occasions like maybe a child's birthday, they might say, no, don't let the person come. But even then, sometimes these things are negotiated. This is the current person in my life. She meets them every week. So,
in fact, when it comes to if you are married, you are remarried, and your ex tells you, don't bring your wife or don't bring your husband to come and pick my child. Why? I have my life right now. You don't control me. So I do what I want to do. I have a right to pick the children. It doesn't matter who I come with. I choose who I come with. I am not with you. You don't control me. You can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And this is coming from Kenya. It said, so in all this, where do you place polygamous man? I am a typical traditional Africanist, and I am a polygamist. I have 4 wives. Now, do I call any of them exes? I don't think so. So where in the context do all this fit into for a polygamous man? By the way, I am a Christian. The Bible never spoke against polygamy. And so I just want it to be clear. Thank you.
We're not going to discuss whether the Bible is for or against polygamy, even though you're trying to needle us into that. But you say the people are your wives. Maybe you don't understand who an ex is. So let's refresh, your mind. An ex is someone with whom you were once associated in a relationship or marriage, previous. So if you have a former wife, then that's an ex. If you have 4 wives now, none of them is an ex. They are your wives. But if you have a former wife, that's an ex. I hope that clears the air for you. Just like you want to clear the air about polygamy and Bible for us. So that's that simple. If you don't have a former wife, you don't have an ex. If you have a former wife who's an ex, then you have to determine how you relate to her and with your wife as well, so that there is no problem between her and them, and then between you and your current wives as well. That's the simple answer, short answer to that. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, great. So the other question here, let me scroll here quickly. So the other question here says that thank you so much for the knowledge shared. Deep things. I'm very grateful for all the things that has been shared. My question here is a very simple one. Now, in terms of when do you actually consider somebody to be your ex? I'm saying this because like most people, whilst growing up, we had some girlfriends in our lives that we know very well that it is just a youthful thing until we got settled or we got married. But those are even though we hang out with them and we consider them to be our girlfriends, they are not necessarily like people that you call girlfriend or somebody that you have a sexual relationship with. So how do you draw the lines with those people? Some of them are just happen to be childhood friends that we hang out together, and in our own terms we call them like boyfriend, girlfriends.
Okay, let me help you out. You can have a friend who is a girl. You can have a friend who is a boy. we do know that generally when somebody is described as a boyfriend or girlfriend, what it means is that there was a romantic relationship between them. It isn't simply that the person, is a female friend of a boy, therefore is a girlfriend. It's a friend who is a girl. I know grammar people, you are going to now be splitting hairs, but for the purposes of our discussion, let's make that clear. What you are saying is if you have had friends who are girls growing up, girls have had friends who are boys growing up. They do not fit into the category of people who we will label as girlfriends or boyfriends. That is romantic. Okay? So if you have had those ones, romantic, girls with whom you were romantically, then those are girlfriends, and now they're ex-girlfriends. So an ex, again, is someone with whom you were associated in a relationship or marriage. Relationship being romantic relationship. I hope that's clear for all of us. So it's not simply because you got to know this, this person sat next to you in class and it's a girl and you are a boy, that's your girlfriend. That's not what we're talking about. It's a romantic relationship between the two of you, or marriage, for that matter, married to or formerly in a romantic relationship. That's an ex. And then all the things you've said, you can apply to those people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And this is coming from Virginia. And it says that, so what will be your best form of advice for two exes to raise a child, a teenage child? For instance, my ex and I have a child, and our child is 11-year-old now. And of course, he still gets both of our attention in terms of raising up. We are both not married, but we are no longer together. And so, how will you advise for us to raise this child in a way that it will not have any impact on our relationship? Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I mean, the clear boundaries also applies if you don't want anything romantic to, spark again between the two of you. But you can focus on the child, and the two of you need to agree how you want this child raised. There will be things to discuss, and it's good you're asking that now. 7 years, maybe in second grade, talk about plan for the future of this child, the next 11 plus, before they become 18 and they decide for themselves. School you want them to go to, how you'll deal with school issues, parent-teacher conferences, who will go, things like that. Will both of you go? Will one person? Talk about those practical things. And then, I'm sure you already have an arrangement as to where the child lives and how much time the child will spend with each parent. You need to work out all those. But you also need to prepare yourselves for when somebody else comes into either person's life. Because at that point, it is important to involve that person also in raising that child. Whether you as a man remarry or, your ex remarries, it's helpful to involve the person coming into your lives, in raising the child so it doesn't become a tussle, and either of you can feel comfortable that, my wife's new husband, yes, he can give the fatherly support I want for my son, and then she can also feel, my husband's, new wife can give the motherly support I would like for my son. Of course, not like she would do it 100%, but she can feel secure. Either of you can feel secure about the boy. And it's important that you do not use the child as a bargaining chip on either relationship. What we mean is, you don't say, no, I don't want this person to have anything to do with the child. Well, if they are in the life, going to be in either of your lives, they will have some, at the very least, you know, if the child is spending a weekend with the husband, for example, you may not be there all the time. A new wife or a new girlfriend or fiance might be around, and that person will babysit the child. So for the ex-wife to say, "I don't want this woman to have anything to do with my child." Now that's something that needs to be dealt with early, so that is taken off the table completely. But otherwise, it's important to maintain that cordial relationship and work out practical and helpful arrangements, not only for the child, but the two of you as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that answering. That question here, it says that, so when you have just separated from your spouse, but you have not legally divorced, do you still consider this person as ex? Would there may be a possibility of the two coming back together? So if the chance comes that two of you came together, how will you describe yourself? Thank you.
Well, if you haven't divorced, neither of you is an ex yet. You're still joined as husband and wife, soon to be exes. But and like you say, there is the possibility of the two of you working through your differences and coming back together. But we also have to say that even exes sometimes get back together again, and people who have been divorced have come together, have remarried, and have gone on to enjoy their marriages, or I should actually say, are enjoying their marriages. So yes, exes can come together and get married or remarried, again. So it was actually a joy for. We had a couple sometimes back, two people who married, stayed together in a relationship, then they broke up, they married different people, actually had children, those marriages broke up, and then after some while, they met each other again, and they actually have got married now, bringing their children together and actively now building a home for those children. Each of them 2 kids, but they've come together. They're now husband and wife. So exes can marry. Even exes who become other people's exes. We have seen it happen. So you're not yet an ex. When it gets there, should it get there? But maybe it won't, like you just said. And hopefully you and your spouse can work out the differences and have a happy marriage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So another question here. So let me ask this question. This person said, uh, sometimes isn't it good to be an ex, because you may be in an abusive relationship and it will create all manner of problems for you. So people have created the impression that the ex is a very bad thing. uh, I want to be very certain in my mind, is ex a bad word associated to somebody who separated or divorced? Thank you.
I No, I don't think that's what we have said. What we are saying is that the potential is there, as in even if you are not an ex. But as the research shows, being friends with an ex can create more problems. Negative issues arise more often than positive ones for different reasons. Least of all being that the two of you were together and broke up. Why did you break up? And generally speaking, I think it's right to say, depending on how the relationship went before and how the breakup came, being friendly with each other can take different forms. Some break up so hurtfully that they don't want anything to do with the ex. But again, time and space apart can heal. And the same two people can meet 5 years, 10 years after, and they can be cordial with each other. Some even break up amicably, but then it turns worse later on. Sometimes because they find out about other things that went on during the relationship. And then they realize, oh, so this is why, or it's because of this person that the relationship didn't work out. So what may have ended amicably, that is friendly, actually might turn sour later on as well. So an ex is not a bad person. Don't get us wrong. We're saying the behavior of an ex is something that we all need to be aware of and to be careful about and to deal with in a way that is healthy. Because, as we have said, many of us are exes or have exes. In fact, if you have an ex, it means you're also an ex. So that's why we actually started by saying many of us did not marry the first person we fell in love with. And so we are an ex. We are exes. That doesn't make us all bad people, as you can now understand. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The other question here says, so does that mean that if you have sex with somebody, the person automatically becomes your ex? Thank you.
There are sexual relationships that, there are different kinds of sexual relationships. And, when we get questions like this, they are unhelpful in providing a good answer because did you just meet the person and have sex with them? Or you were in a relationship with them and after having sex with them, you broke up? Because you could go and pick up somebody in a club or at a party or someplace and have sex with that person. We don't call that a relationship as something that developed over time, So we're talking of when you are actively involved in the life of someone over, at least a significant time period, Then when that breakup comes, we can call it an ex. But if you target somebody for sex and you say because you had sex with the person is an ex, that person is an ex, I think you missed the point. We're talking of being in a relationship. A relationship is not a one-night stand or a hit-and-run sexual encounter. We wouldn't call that a relationship, no. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the other question here is that, so in dealing with, from all that I have understood based on what I have listened in the last 1 hour, dealing with your exes, you must be as transparent and as open as anything in order for you to live in harmony in your present relationship. My question to you is that what if you have a very jealous husband? How do you mention your ex to your jealous husband, knowing verily that in times of challenges in your marriages, your husband will refer you to a reason why you broke up with your ex?
Well, that is a sign of another issue in the marriage that has to be dealt with. Whenever either person uses some information provided by one against the other, that undermines the relationship. It undermines being honest and open. That has to be dealt with. It's something that really kills open communication. So, if there are any on the line who have been doing that, your husband, your wife, your fiancé, somebody you're talking to, they tell you something really deep, close, intimate about them, and you proceed to use that against them, especially, when things aren't going well. That is not only immature, but it's and hurtful, but you are actually undermining the very relationship you have. And it's not the way to grow a relationship. It's something that we all need to check ourselves at doing, because somebody will not tell you anything any longer. And guess who's the loser? You and the relationship as a whole. So let's be very careful. And, I do know sometimes this happens with, my colleague men, especially the young men. They want to know, who did you sleep with, and your ex, how many times did you sleep with them, and where did you sleep, and all that. That is all a whole load of nonsense. Why do you want all that detail? For what? What will it do to your present relationship? So if they've told you this was an ex, yes, we did have, a sexual relationship, that you should even thank them for having let you know something that could really be painful for them. And brothers, the less we needle the women about this and trying to get extra detail and all that, the more we will find out about them. I mean, the ladies. So beware of using this. And whilst I'm saying this for the men, the ladies are not excused either, because some women also do that. And it's part of what we call emotional blackmail. Holding this over, oh, that's why you slept with so many people before, and so what? Especially if that person has come to Christ. The Bible says, 2 Corinthians 5:17, the old is passed away. Behold, the new has come. That's not her. That's not him anymore. And Isaiah 43:25 says, God speaking to the people of Israel about their sins says, I, even I, am he who blots out your transgressions, that's your sin, and I will remember them no more. If God, who knows all things, chooses not to remember our sins, why do we want to resurrect other people's previous bad behavior? What is dead, let us leave dead. Thank you.
Awesome. So we have our last question from our end, and the last question is actually coming from the United Kingdom, and it says that thank you so much for all these beautiful thoughts. Now, do you think that it is okay for your boss at work to be your ex? I'm saying this because I happen to be in that same situation. My immediate supervisor was my ex, but this is the company that feeds me, so I can't quit my company because of him, because he's also taking care of himself. What do I do?
Well, the simple answer is set the boundaries, know the boundaries, and keep them. And, you keep the boundaries and make sure he or she, did you say a he, also keeps them. Could be a she, either way, it's important. Have those boundaries. There's certain things I will not discuss with this person. There's certain things I will not exchange with this person, and just make sure. And then certain practical things like, being found alone at certain times in certain places. This is just common sense. You don't want to create problems for yourself or your current partners. You don't want those things to happen. Especially if you've told your spouse, if you're married now, you've told your spouse, this person, is my ex. You have to make sure you don't create any or allow yourself into any situations where it becomes a problem for your current partner or spouse, or your boss's current partner or spouse either. This is important. Let's do this for ourselves. It is important we do that. Okay, Sam, so you say you are done? It's time for us to say thank you to everyone who's been on the line with us. We've been dealing with Exes and Ys. Lots of questions coming, and many people are asking, is it okay to do this? Is it okay to do that? It's important for us all to remember that whatever relationship or relationships we have say something about us. And also to remember that, as we've said, time taking away from our current relationships means we are undermining that relationship and not helping it to grow. And ask, will communicating with this other person enhance my relationship or harm it? We're talking of your current relationship. So whether you just chat with the people or it's something more, you need to answer that question. Will it enhance my relationship or harm it? If it's not enhancing your relationship, then you should, again, have to take the decision. Perhaps it will be better, you're better off, and your relationship is better off with you cutting those ties. Draw the line about boundaries. Express what you're willing to tolerate, but also what you would prefer. And be critical of your own choices. Apply to yourself the same rule you would apply to your spouse. And look out for the warning lights. When you don't want to talk about the person or you begin hiding information, red flashing lights all the way. And finally, brothers and sisters, friends, listeners, it's in everyone's interest, best interest actually, if we are open and honest about issues relating to our exes. Thank you so much. God bless you. And may the rest of the month bring you much joy in your relationships. Until we meet again next month on the third Sunday. God bless you. Have a good night, good morning to some of you, good afternoon to some of you. Bye for now.